What's up, Raiders? Bionic here. Welcome to today's Raid Shadow Legends video, which is going to be a follow-up of the one from yesterday, the reality of farming gear 18 months later, where I somewhat give an overview of the gear on my account after all this time, and sort of like this quest to play the speed game, right? Showing that I have like only one triple speed roll item, one quadruple roll for my main speed lead. Then of course I'm trying to use more speed leads for Tag Arena, and it's just not working. I just don't have the level of gear to compete with some of the end game players. So what I've said in this video is that basically I'm going to try now more of like a defensive types of builds for especially Tag Arena. Maybe not for Classic Arena, as I feel my speed lead 335 for Arbiter is decent for Gold 4. And that's sort of in the realm that I'm playing right now. I'm not pushing for Platinum. I'm not looking to be top 300, at least not for now. But for Tag Arena, I want something that's a little bit harder to deal with on the defense, so that maybe I can push for Gold 2, Gold 3 at some point. That would be kind of nice, right? So I somewhat talked about this before. I had done a video called Beginner Defensive Nuke Build, this right here. I was talking about Rosin and Sile the Drakes because they are, of course, accessible champions, and I love accessible champions. So today what I want to do for you guys is sort of go over how I approach now my Tag Arena, giving up on the 3 speed leads. Even though I have Gorgrab, I talked about him, he's actually pretty solid, his speed is decent, it's 290. It's not enough. It is not enough for Gold 1 Tag Arena. It is not enough for Classic Arena Gold 4. So I somewhat have to drop that plan for now. Even if I were to get a little bit better gear by removing some of the extra speed gear from the rest of my champions to put on this Gorgrab, I would hurt my account more than I would benefit, because I would literally not be able to do my dungeons properly. My clan boss would not be tuned properly. So it's all about the balance, and the speed gear, the more you need of it, the more you build everything around speed. And we all know that tuning for clan boss, tuning for dungeons is also pretty gear intensive. It's just going to make it nearly impossible to have all of that at the same time, at least for me right now where I'm at in the game, okay? So let me show you guys this right here, then I'll show you some runs with this so-called defensive team, which I am going to call the passive aggressive. So what I'm doing with this build right here, it's all fusion champions. I get that you guys don't have that right now. You might not have all 4 of them. I totally understand. What I'm trying to tell you guys here is that over time, as you keep doing these fusions, some synergies might start to appear, and some of these synergies are actually pretty solid. So the one that I've committed to right now, it's my second team right here. It is this that we have, the Torment, the Harvest Jack, the Brachus, and the Erotos. I kind of like it because it's all about passives. This build right here is protecting me against speed leads, so this is a great counter to speed teams, and I'll show you guys in Classic Arena Gold 4 me winning against just like typical Arbiter teams, right? Then we have Harvest Jack to protect us, but also as a buff stripper with his passive, right? So we're looking to get hit, we're planning on getting hit. We're also protecting our Erotos with a big shield set. I'll show the stats after, right? So that they sort of somewhat go for him sometimes. Like Magic champions will go for the spear type champions first, so like he's getting some aggro, therefore the Erotos has a little bit more chance of surviving. But with a pretty massive shield, what I'm also getting is like it takes 3 hits to kill my Erotos, okay? And then we have the Brachus the Shifter, which if he dies, he takes a turn. So again, sort of like working off this passive right here. We do get increased attack as well to somewhat power up the Erotos. We have AoE Provoke, Stun as well, Freeze, True Fear, AoE with decreased speed, decreased turn meter. We have Fear yet again, and here we have Block Revive, right? And yeah, Erotos is going to get nerfed. You guys probably saw the patch notes, but maybe it's still going to work. Perhaps not as well. Still, I think that Erotos deserves a spot on this roster, okay? And eventually I'll talk about this team a little bit more, but I'm not done testing a few things. I'm not done re-gearing these champions, but I think this is another great combo. It'll be probably the next defensive build that I'll show you guys that I'm working on, but it's not any close to being ready. So first, let's go over the gear of these 4 champions, and then I'll show you guys some footage, okay? So what we have on those champions, like I explain quickly, is a stun set for the Torment. I have not changed my Torment aside from different gloves right now. These gloves were actually on my Arbiter. They have a little bit more speed, and since I am using him in Classic Arena as my crowd control champion, I'm trying to get my Torment to be within 30% of my Arbiter, which is at 335 speed. So 240 is not enough. I think I need to be close to 255, 257 if I remember correctly. So I'm still really far from that point, but that's because I've been trying to use a stun set, okay, on top of his existing crowd control. Why? Because I want to have the maximum chance at applying a debuff that will work for the Opportunist Mastery, which I have on my Foley, which is my nuker in Classic Arena, but also my Erotos and also my Brachus. Okay, so this little extra 12% damage works only for stun, so not provoke. Does work for the freeze, which we have on the passive with Torment. It also works for the True Fear, which we have on the Brachus and the Harvest Jack. Okay, so because I don't have AoE decreased defense, these little things matter in the long run, but still. His skills are all done, obviously. Okay, so AoE provoke with the possibility, of adding a stun, which is great. Then we have the passive working for us with the freeze. We do have stun with the AoE A1. So again, a lot of crowd control from just Torment. Plus, he's relatively fast at 240 speed. Good amount of accuracy, could be a lot more. 215 resistance could be more yet again. But unfortunately, I just can't reach that right now. Also, crit rate gloves was not my first choice, but because it had more speed and some accuracy, I kind of just went with it for the time being. And I did go for Fearsome Presence. I could always go for Eagle Eye or Unshakable, but I feel that because I'm using Provoke and it's only 80% chance, I do have Freeze on the passive and I have Stun from the gear, that extra 5% is working on all three of those things, right? So I figured that, you know what, I'm gonna try and keep this for the time being, but if I feel that my stats aren't quite enough, over time I might switch to Eagle Eye or Unshakable, okay? So that's basically it for the Torment. Then we have the Brachus, the Shifter. I showed his gear not too long ago. I made a dedicated build video for this guy. I went with Savage and Divine Crit because that's the only way I can reach a decent amount of crit rate. Decent amount of crit damage, could be a lot higher, but again, I'm in Savage and I'm also using Hell Smasher, okay? I'm also missing a 6-star gloves. That would be an extra 15% right here. And I do not have my Great Hall maxed out, which would be another 10%. I'm only at 15. So that would be an extra 25% total, which would be a pretty respectable 233%, roughly, right? So, I mean, again, work in progress, but also you can see like it's not full legendary gear, right? Eventually, if I have 6-star full legendary gear, it would be that much better. But for now, this is all I can afford. So we have crit damage gloves, we have a crit damage amulet, we have accuracy banner. The rest of the stats is pretty straightforward. Like I said, I did a dedicated build video on that guy. Same thing with Torment. I did a dedicated build video for him. But if you guys want to see all the gear right now, that's what I'm using. Okay, so flat defense, accuracy here, of course, and again, there's just not enough speed on these pieces. I would need double speed rolls right here. Like, this shield is not that great, but it's sort of all I had for the time being. I don't even have 6-star speed boots on this guy. So, like, still a work in progress, but I feel I'm close. I'm close to having everything balanced across the board. All right, next one is our Erotos. Showed him as well. Dedicated video. I have him in a Relentless set. I'm going to keep him in Relentless even post-nerf. I think that it'll be that much more important to have Relentless on him because we're going to need this to go first before this can block the revive, right? So again, it's a little bit harder to set up, but I think he's still going to be somewhat effective to some extent. We're also only going to ignore 60% defense and not 75%. So perhaps change this to Helm Smasher at some point, might be a little bit better, but we'll see, okay? So stats here, we have 5-star, unfortunately, crit damage gloves. We have the 6-star crit damage amulet, attack percent, speed right here. Attack banner, this could be resistance. It would help a little bit more, but as you saw, or as you'll see in the runs that I'm going to show you guys, I don't have a ton of resistance on this team overall. I'm really just counting on the passives to do their job, okay? So the second defensive team that I'll be doing will be very resistance heavy. This one is literally just passives, okay? So that's basically it. All the skills are done on this guy, right? And here are the masteries that I'm using. Again, Opportunist being relatively important for this, at least that's what I think. So Helm Smasher might be more important in Flawless Execution eventually. Savage Brachus here was the same thing. Okay, I went with Helm Smasher instead, but I went more into sort of like a counter attack. Cycle of Revenge is actually quite important if you're going to go for defensive builds. I don't necessarily have it everywhere right now, but I might respec into this as well at some point, okay? Especially if I keep the team as is. But again, a little bit of a work in progress. And finally, we have our Harvest Jack in a shield set with a decent amount of accuracy and resistance. It's not crazy yet again. I also needed a decent amount of speed. We have a decent amount of HP, all right? But this guy is there to be a debuffer and to remove the buffs on the enemies and protect our Erotos, like I said before. So we have some speed here, no glyphs. I'm always out of glyphs. Again, no glyphs here, so this could be a little bit better. Crappy glyph right here, but again, a lot of speed, right? We're looking for speed, resistance, accuracy is the most important, HP percent. So we have an HP percent chest and HP percent gloves. We do have a flat HP ring, HP amulet, and accuracy banner with not enough speed. Unfortunately, I wish I would have had more, but I'm still not quite there yet. The skills are not all done, okay? Except for the A3, I put some books into this guy until I got this. All the way up to 100%, because I think this is the most important skill. It really helped out for faction wars, and so it's also helping out obviously for Tag Arena. So obviously you need a lot of accuracy, but this is one of the best, in my opinion, crowd control skills in the game. Although True Fear is not necessarily the best crowd control, the combination of True Fear, decreased speed, and decreased turn meter is really, really solid. So Masteries on this guy, we do have Eagle Eye. I suppose it could be Unshakable if I had more accuracy. But for now, this is what I am using on this guy. Again, I could switch this up a little bit, but I do like Shadow Heal here, pretty good. Also, Resurgent, which is pretty nice. Maybe even rework this to perhaps get the Wisdom of Battle, because with that amount of resistance, it's not quite enough. I do get crowd control quite a bit, but again, the passives are somewhat saving me, okay? So that's basically it for the 4 champions for this somewhat passive-aggressive team that I talked about. And so here's the Great Hall. Obviously, it does affect my stats, okay? But like, I have a lot of work to do for resistance here, for Spirit, force, and also defense, also HP and crit damage, okay? So that's sort of like my focus for after I'm done with this, and it will be that much better. But for now, you know, take this into account. All right, now let's go over some of these runs that I have recorded for you guys. I just refreshed Gold 4. I kind of just started working from the top. Some of these teams are a little bit weaker, but some of them are actually quite strong. So like this one right here is relatively strong, right? So we have the Hegemon, the Arbiter, the Molly to provoke us. So like I'm not necessarily expecting to win all of them, definitely not. And I'm also not expecting to beat like really powerful players. Again, what I'm trying to do is to have an overall team that will address somewhat the speed meta, because everyone is sort of working towards that. And I want to see how it works on auto. So I literally just hit auto, I let it go, I see how well it works, because that's how it's going to work on the defense, right? You're not going to control this. Although the enemy is going to control his team, it's still nice to see sort of like what your champions are going to do in each battle, okay? So they obviously sort of like pick all different targets, so it takes a little bit more time, but still, you can see that we somewhat resisted the initial sort of burst, although it wasn't a hard nuke, right? And I'll show you guys a little bit later a run that I do get nuked pretty bad by a really strong team. But sometimes it's enough, right? And so what you're trying to do here is, let's say you have a really good speed lead in your first Tag Arena team, and you're playing that game of speed, then you want your other teams to be annoying for them to deal with. So I think Torment here is key to address any other speed leads, right? And obviously the passives from the Erotos and the Brachus also really come into play, because if you do get nuked really hard right off the bat, they're going to take a turn, okay? So that's the whole point here. So here again, we see sort of us being able to take over this fight by not really doing much. So that passive, again, from Torment is really working wonders. Then we're going to try another one down here. I think we're going to lose the next one. If I'm not mistaken, they do have, what is it, Big Un? 236,000 player power against 224,000. So I expect this to be somewhat harder to deal with. We get True Feared. I hit auto again, and I just let it go. We died there on the Brachus, but we're counting on that, right? The the whole point of Brachus dying is that he takes a turn. Then it goes right into Erotos, and we're able to get the block revive. Now, this is not going to happen post-nerf, so it might not be perfect, but still, for the time being, it's still somewhat effective. And it might still be after. I might tweak a few things. I might switch around the champions, but like, still, I think it's relatively doable. So there you saw we took some big damage from this guy, Bionic. Okay, so we kind of expected that. He hits pretty damn hard. We didn't freeze him. So again, not perfect, but still somewhat effective. So I'm going to fast forward on this one a little bit here because it's going to take a little bit too much time. Okay, so obviously, you know, there's some teams it's just not going to work against. Next one right here, we have Erotos. No, sorry, Chris. See those team power, 6.22 million total player power here, 4.46 total player power, 3.39 million. That is typically something I expect them to be somewhat on par with me, if not better. But it's still nice to be able to test my team against those types of teams. So right there, freeze across the board, that's enough. Then we take over the battle, right? So I'm not convinced there are a lot of other champions that can do this well, Torment probably being one of the best for this. And if you're not going to do a heavy resistance team, I feel like Torment is almost a must. But I'm pretty sure there are other champions you can do this with, okay? So don't stress that you don't have these champions. Instead, just look at this as sort of like possibilities over time, and like always take into consideration the next fusions, like I said before, because they might actually be game changers, right? Anyway, so now this one is also pretty much a win, and I believe the last one we're going to do, the last team down there, we have a Foley and a Torment. Okay, we saw the player power, 3.40 million total team power. We get stun across the board, that's all right, and provoke. Then our Brachus is doing some work on this Torment. This Foley doesn't hit hard at all. Okay, we're taking a little bit of damage on this Erotos. That's all right. Again, a little bit of damage there from that Foley. He's really not hitting that hard, so I think that's sort of what allowed me to win on this round. But still, sometimes you will have teams like that. Okay, this might be this guy's third team in Tag Arena, and like you have enough power to survive the initial hits. All right. So I think this one is going to end up being a win as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, slowly but surely we take care of all these champions. And there you go, done. Okay, so I at least won a couple in there. I lost a couple as well. So again, it's not perfect, but like I said, the goal here is to give you guys somewhat of a working model for a defensive team. And I've shown this yesterday. If not, like I do get a couple of wins with this, okay? A couple of wins here as well, but maybe even more than my speed lead at this point. And then the third team that I'm testing right now is still not perfect, but I do get some wins as well. Anyway, so that'll be next, guys. Sorry, this was a little bit long. I wanted to go over these 4 champions, sort of how it's working right now, how it works in Classic Arena, but also how it's working for me in Tag Arena. And it's such a relief to be able to work with champions that do not necessarily need to have a ton of speed gear. So that's the big message here today. And after doing this video right here, the reality of farming gear after 18 months is that you need a ton of speed gear. So if you try to gear or tune all your champions with speed and play the speed meta and then do 3 speed teams in Tag Arena, chances are you're gonna have a lot of issues like I did. Anyway, so that's that, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, I will catch you guys later.